Yeah. If we could do a real quick history, it just is
Yeah.
a very simple, real quick history. So Plato, who was, the student of Socrates, he very much believed in something that we now call Platonic dualism, and that it privileges the ethereal, the spiritual, the mind, etc., things you can't touch, over the physical. And so it went through the ages. He taught his student, who was Aristotle. His student was Alexander the Great. And so Hellenism, which is the Greek thinking, Greek worldview, was then taught to the whole known world under
Mm.
colonialism, under Alexander the Great. And so it goes along and it spreads into Europe and everywhere else. And then they have what Europeans call the Dark Ages. And they only call them the Dark Ages because they compared them to what happened between the 14th and 17th centuries. And that was the Renaissance, which was the awakening or the spreading again, if you will, of Greek thought and Greek architecture and Greek art and Greek literature and just philosophy, all of those kinds of things. And there were two evil twins born during that period. And we know them as the Enlightenment. People like Descartes, who said, I am a mind, but I have a body. So that the material world is seen as lower. And the second evil twin was the Reformation. And the Reformation calls people to this sort of theological scrutiny that comes from the mind and systemic and Calvinism, and it says, on and on and on, and this kind of weird thinking that never meant to be applied. And so that it's no surprise that in America we have this totally disembodied theology. We don't do, we think by knowing we're doing, and that's not at all what Jesus taught.
Do you feel any hope though on the larger sense that, like, Mike Dufresne writes in the comments here that, you got people like Vladimir Putin taking over land. You've got wars all the time over land. You have people taking and destroying and just wreaking havoc. We've always been doing that as human beings, right? So,
no, we haven't.
Okay, talk about
the West has always been doing that since the nation states and the formulation of nation states. But there's a number of things I can point to. Now, we in Native America, it was no utopia. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that there was way more diversity than there probably has been ever since 1492. Before 1492, I'm saying that war was fought differently, and it was by and large, because every tribe was different, but by and large was not about taking other people's land, was not about religious belief. There was no religious wars here, there was tolerance in terms of that. And so indigenous societies fight differently for different reasons. It usually has to do more with survival than it does anything else. And so people haven't been trying to, that's one of the myths of sort of the modern age, is that all people have been trying to take each other over since the beginning of time. That's just not true. It's a Western paradigm, but not just endemic to the West, right? I mean, other people are doing it too. But and then there's also been some studies that have shown that whenever men are in charge, more matrilineal, matriarchal or patriarchal societies and patrilineal societies, that they're much more apt to be violent and try to take over other things than when women are in charge. So I'm all for, I think it's time for at least 100 years to put women in charge of everything. So maybe we can have a better world that way.